Hey folks, welcome back to the So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the latest release of Zorin OS. This is the 64-bit version, 12.2 is the release version, and there is also a 30-bit version if you're interested in downloading that. Now, the folks at Zorin seem to be touting this distribution of Linux as a companion or a replacement for those folks running Windows and Mac OS X, and that can be a tall order. So we're definitely going to take a look at it and see if it holds up to that promise. Now, there are 3 iterations of the operating system. There's a light version, which I believe is meant for older hardware. That makes sense. And there's a basic version as well that comes with a basic set of applications, and I'm assuming less some of the features and bells and whistles. And there's an ultimate version as well. We're going to be taking a look at the ultimate version, obviously because we want to see what Zorin has to offer as a complete package, but also because there is a fee associated with this release. In fact, it costs 19 euros at the time of this video, and that works out to be about $22. So, it's worth taking a look at because, it might just be a perfect release or near perfect release for those folks out there who want to jump ship from Windows or Mac into the Linux world, and hopefully this turns out to be the case. So join me for the next couple of minutes, and we'll see if this does prove to be the case, and hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so before we jump into the installation of the OS, which I have to say was really quite straightforward and simple to do, I just want to show you guys what the login screen looks like. In fact, it kind of reminds you, or should remind you, of the latest release of Ubuntu and some of the downstream flavors that they have. So let's go ahead and log in here. And this is where we were just a second ago. And I do want to mention just a couple of things here. One is that this is not the exact layout that you get when you first install the operating system. Like I said, I've been testing this OS for a couple of days now, and I just wanted to kind of get things looking the way that I wanted them to be, sort of a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. But when we do install the OS, we'll actually go through and take a look at the basic or default layout of everything. And I have to say off the bat that the configuration, it was, I thought, a good mixture between having options and being straightforward. Sometimes you can kind of get lost in the minutia of, one option versus another and having to download this and that. And, for folks out there that are switching from Windows or Mac, this might be, sort of a more approachable way of getting them to try out Linux and adopt the operating system. So let's go ahead and just close this out here, and I'm going to bring up the browser, which actually is Chromium. So by default, you do get Chromium on the ultimate version, which I thought is great. I think it comes in all versions, by the way. And I'm at their main OS page, and I'm actually at the download section. And the reason why I've come here is because they actually go through the differences between the various versions that they have. And I thought that'll be a really good part or point to start at. And you guys can get an idea of whether or not the software that they give you in the ultimate version is worth getting. Alright, so let's scroll down here, and as you can tell that in the ultimate release you actually get a bunch of business and media apps. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those. Let's scroll down here. So it looks like part of the bundle is mixed DJ software for DJing, if that's what you're into. Some of the software titles that come in here I'm actually not really familiar with, so I'll leave it up to you guys in the comments section. Let me know if these pieces of software actually are good, worthwhile. Again, this is $20, or excuse me, 19 euros, which comes up to about 22 bucks. And so it's not a cheap operating system as far as Linux goes. There's a bunch of them out there that are perfectly free. But this is the route that they've chosen to go, similar to Elementary OS. And, this is why they're claiming it's worth the money. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next piece of software here. You get Blender 3D. Now, some of these may be free. Add-ons may be, something that's attached with the price to it. I'm just going to go through and let you discover the bundle of software and features that come with the ultimate release. We can always have a conversation about whether or not one piece of software is better than another, but for all intent and purpose, this is what they've chosen. All right, let's see what's next. You get GIMP, which obviously is a phenomenal open source version of photo editing software. Couldn't recommend it more. LMMS, again, it looks like this is a producing software for music. I not used it, couldn't tell you one thing about it. Hopefully it's a good piece of software. All right, you have a video editor, Kden Live. Sorry for butchering the name. Again, I have not used this. I'm not familiar with it. You know, it might just be a good piece of software to have. Again, I'll leave it up to you guys in the comments section below. You got My Paint. I have never used this, although I gotta say it looks sort of like Paint in Windows, which might be a good thing. Obviously, again, these folks here are trying to draw, you know, the communities from, you know, Mac OS X and Windows. So clearly, if they have software that looks similar and may sound similar in the naming convention, that might be a bonus. This is Audio Workstation. Seems like a multi-channel recorder and digital audio workstation. Again, I'm not familiar with the software, and I don't really work much in the audio field. You know, furthest thing from an audio file. So again, I'll leave the final verdict on how good this software is to you folks in the comment section below. Let's see what else it offers here. Audacity. I have used Audacity multiple times, and I found that even though it looks like the GUI is from, you know, the early 2000s, I think it offers a whole slew of options and features that you couldn't possibly go wrong with. And plus it's open source, so I would definitely recommend this as well. This is obviously free, so it's not like you get an added bonus, or it's not like the folks at Zorin are purchasing this as like a bulk purchase or providing it to you. It is free to begin with. Inkscape. I have heard of Inkscape before. I think it's more like the Paint, you know, the newer versions of Paint and stuff. I think you can work with 3D graphics and all that. So clearly they're trying to offer you a wider range, I should say, of software if you do choose the operating system. Illustration, so I guess it's their match to Illustrator. Looks cool, looks intuitive, so that's nice to see. You got Builder in here, which is an IDE. I have heard of this before. I don't really have an opinion on this. Again, I'll leave it to you folks out there to see what the status is or how good this IDE actually performs. I can't say that it does seem to flow very well with the aesthetics or the design language of the operating system. So that is a positive, of course. And it says it has many more. Yeah, it does. I gotta say, in going through the application list here, there are quite a few to select from. For work, let's see. So let's take a look at. You've got a home bank, which is apparently a personal accounting piece of software. For you folks out there that like to manage that kind of information on your PC, this might be a nice choice to go to. LibreOffice, which I really can't fault. You know, it is one of the most recognizable pieces of software or office suites for the Linux world. So clearly a good choice in my opinion. Then it goes through Calculator and Writer, so it goes through all the different pieces of software within the software suite, so that's fine. You got FreeCAD. I have not used FreeCAD, so obviously it's a AutoCAD or CAD modeling piece of software, but I have not used it, so I will leave that up to you guys to decide if this is a good choice. View Your Mind. This looks like a mind map, which is very helpful for those of you that haven't actually used a mind map piece of software in the past. I do recommend you guys look into it. It really does help kind of plot out and map out your ideas. You know, it gives you can put in timelines and you can rate them. So there's a whole slew of choices out there in terms of software that allows you to create mind maps. But if you're like me and you work with multiple projects, or you have ideas for your YouTube channel or business, and you kind of want to just map all of those details out instead of trying to keep 1,500 details in your head, you know, this is a great choice. I've never used View Your Mind particularly or especially, but as a mind map software, you know, I think everybody should try it out at least once, because it really could change the way you kind of organize your ideas and thoughts, and how much more beneficial it would be to you in developing your ideas. Planner, very simple planner, or maybe a little bit complex actually. I don't particularly know. I actually have a couple of other pieces of software that I use, so I've not actually tried this out, but it does come bundled. And you've got Calendar, which I would expect with pretty much any operating system out there. referencer. So it looks like this is an application to organize your documents and references. I did pull this up and I found this to be a little bit interesting of an idea, but not sure how helpful it would be. Essentially what you can do is you can build your collection of documents that you would require for a particular project or topic that you're covering. I mean, you know, I normally use folders, and so I have my documents in particular folders that are related to specific topics. But, you know, it is here, and for folks, it might be a really useful utility. So you got Journal here, which is their journal version for note-taking and keeping your ideas. Again, I mean, for some folks out there, they might prefer OneNote. I actually do use OneNote, and I've been using it for a number of years, so I'm kind of grandfathered into it as a choice. But, you know, I'm always open to trying new pieces of software. And we're back to the many more choices here. For play, it looks like you get a bunch of video games. I haven't had a chance to try out all of the games that the operating system does provide. I've kind of been testing the stability, performance, and just overall usability of the OS. But you do get a bunch of games here as well. So you get a kart racing game here. You get a first-person shooter. You get Nerf Ball. And Warzone, which seems like a strategy game that you can play, and a few others. We'll take a look at them a little bit later on in the video. And then you get Experience, which I guess is their multimedia kind of approach. You get Kodi, which a lot of people do enjoy using. I do as well. Chromium Browser, I can't really fault that as well. I mean, you can go with Firefox if you'd like, or you can even download Chrome if you're really into that sort of thing. You can definitely go with that. But Chromium, of course, being the open source version of Chrome from Google. VLC, this is my media player of choice as well. In fact, I have this on all of my PCs and laptops and servers, so really don't really see a need to try others or adopt others. This seems to work very well. I do also have Media Player Classic. That's also another piece of software that I use to play my media, which I do enjoy. And you've got Maps. Now, initially, when I first looked at this, I really thought this was like Google Maps that they had downloaded or ported. This comes, but unfortunately it's not. It's just called Maps. I didn't get a chance to take a look at the company behind it. I'm not really sure where this comes from or who designs this, but we'll definitely take a look at it when we go into the operating system. It works. Let me put it that way. It works. You get directions and you can see points of interest and all that stuff. I've just been used to the Google Maps interface, so I haven't really had a chance to try this out very much. All right, let's go ahead and and photos. I did get a chance to upload some photos into the software, and I gotta say it was very, very smooth process. Importing was great. Just overall, scrolling through the photo collection seemed like it was pretty smooth. No jittery actions, no freezing up, no lag time when you're trying to view images. So I thought it was a really great implementation of a photos application. You get your weather app. Now, there's a whole slew to pick from. I mean, you can actually go into the GNOME extensions page and download whatever weather component you want or weather add-on you'd like. But this seemed to do the job. In fact, I had it for a while. And I had it installed. And mainly what I was testing is, with the weather application, does it bog the system down? Does it keep fetching weather information every couple of seconds, and do you see a noticeable difference? I have to say, gladly, I didn't notice any particular drawbacks from using this weather app. It seemed to work pretty well, so it sort of gets my thumbs up here for my initial testing. And a bunch more. Okay, let's go and look at Windows apps. Now, this is where I have sort of an issue with the folks at Zorin, and the only reason I do is because it may mislead or put people under a misapprehension, and I really don't want to do that. This says that Windows apps, and it says you can install your favorite Windows apps the easy way. PlayOnLinux it goes into sort of the spiel about PlayOnLinux. Now, whether you install Wine, which I think it actually goes on to say, right, you can install with Wine, so they give you this option, and then they give you PlayOnLinux. Either way, it kind of gives you this false belief that you can install your Windows apps seamlessly, and easily right onto the operating system. And we all know that that's not the case. I mean, there are pieces of software, there are games and productivity, and a bunch of other pieces of software from the Windows world that you can install. But one, they take a good deal of time to kind of work out all of the bugs and kinks in the system, and two, it's not 100% guaranteed. So there are a possibility of issues and lockups and hang-ups in the software. So there's always, or I feel there should always be a caveat when we mention PlayOnLinux or Wine, because it really is another layer of abstraction, and it tries to emulate the piece of software. I mean, yes, you do install it, but really it's not a native install. So I wish they kind of noted the fact that this is, this is an emulation piece of software or something to that effect, so that folks don't think, wow, this is great, I can install any and all software of my choice from Windows right onto this Linux operating system and go from there. So if you guys feel differently, please let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to hear what you guys think about it. And as I said, Install with Wine is also available as well, and you can go ahead and install the Windows apps as well in sort of a classic way, as they say. It is easy to go and install. I mean, I don't want to take that away from the software. It's not like they make it a hard process, but really, I mean, it's not the native install, so you can't expect the software to run natively. Speaking of which, I do have a video that I did post a little while ago going over PlayOnLinux and the latest release of Adobe Installation Manager. So if you're interested in using that piece of software, go ahead and take a look at the video, and hopefully you guys can get some useful information out of that. All right, so that's for the software, and I guess it goes straight into your option to download. Now, here's the interesting part. If I go to download here, takes me back to the download page. In fact, let me scroll down a little bit. And as you can tell, in order to purchase the Ultimate, you have to pay $19 euros or $22. Again, hopefully with this video, you guys will have an easier time making up your mind if you think it's worth spending 22 bucks on. And if it is, then that's great. And you can also get the core version if you'd like. The core version is, in my opinion, is the basic version, and it goes into some detail of what you get with it. And you can give you a price, and assuming you can enter enter 0 here, and then download it, right? So you don't have to pay anything. So the core version is free. The Ultimate version is not. All right, so that pretty much takes care of the downloads and the different versions out there. There's also a Lite version. I should scroll down a little bit. Let me see if they do have that. Yeah. So the Zorin Os Lite is for older spec computers, and they also have an OS Business version, which I didn't catch. So an education version as well. So it looks like they're trying to develop flavors for different audiences. And let me go ahead and take a look at the distro watch page real quick. This is just the pages, the hit pages per day, or IP hits per day, and you can see that Mint is number 1, gets about 2,700 hits per day, and climbing. Debian, for obvious reasons. Manjaro, Ubuntu, and then you got OpenSUSE, and you got Zorin is number 8. So it is climbing. It's pretty respectable in the last 12 months. In fact, if you take a look at the last month here, you can see that it's actually dropped to number 12. So it fluctuates. All releases or all distributions of Linux will fluctuate. Mint seems to be the go-to operating system for Linux users, so clearly you can see it's got a foothold on the number 1 position. But it isn't too bad. A 12th place or 8th place around there doesn't seem to be too bad at all. So that pretty much covers the quick intro video that I wanted to make for you guys, and hopefully you got some information out of it that is helpful in determining if you guys want to actually, 1, download this operating system, or 2, pay for it and get the Ultimate Edition. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at the next video where I'll go through the setup and installation process. It's actually pretty straightforward, quite an easy, step-by-step wizard that they give you, so not really too difficult there. But we'll take a look at that. And I want to thank you again for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.